Hey everyone! In this tutorial you will learn how I use various tools such as the new Mesh Extrude Masking edition with Booleans to create our panel cuts, array mesh for the wings and a framing technique to quickly populate our rocket with bolts. Before we start, I want to inform you about my free beginner hard surface course for Zbrush. In this course, I will guide you through the Zbrush UI and introduce you to the main tools we are going to use. We'll start with a warm-up exercise to practice the necessary workflows, and then we'll dive right into creating a VR headset step by step. So if you're just starting out or want to have a more detailed explanation of my workflows, this course is perfect for you. You can access the course through the link in the description. Okay, let's start out with our dear friend the sphere. Let's rotate it by 90 degrees by holding down our shift key. And let's go out of perspective mode. I'm going to grab 1/2 of the sphere. Let's give it a new polygroup. Actually, I'm just going to delete that. Turn on double. Let's switch to the ZModeler brush. Hover over this edge right here. And let's look for the close hole functionality. Close and choose convex hole. And polygroup flat. Click this edge and now this hole is perfectly closed. I'm going to pick my gizmo, control click on this point right here. And now with control alt, I can simply move this plane outwards with a new polygroup. And now I'm going to unmask everything and just scale this until I have a nice tip for this rocket. Going to mask the front portion and move this further to the tip. Let's add some more middle segments. So I'm going to hover over an edge and then choose insert, multiple edge loops and keep polygroups. And drag up until we kind of match the same resolution as we have at the tip. Now I'm going to switch to the select rectangle and I'm simply going to grab a portion from here, give this a new polygroup. Let's also give this a fresh polygroup. Switch to the ZModeler brush, hover over a face and choose Extrude, polygroup all. Let's mask this top portion, recenter our gizmo and scale that slightly. And now we can also give this some segments in the middle. Awesome, let's turn on dynamics. So for the wings, I'm simply going to duplicate this mesh I have here right now. Activate the gizmo. Let's relocate that gizmo and also alt click the home button. So our gizmo is now at the origin. Now I'm clicking the gear icon and switch to the polyplane. Let's rotate that by 90 degrees. And locate our gizmo at the bottom of our plane. Hit the home icon again, and now we are at the origin of our rocket. So now I can scale this to my liking. I can also come in with the slice curve and give this some curvature and delete this part. And also give this like a slight polish. Let's do zero mesh with same. Also give this some dynamic thickness. Okay, and now let's go to array mesh. Click on array mesh, lock position, reset, and then mirror X. And obviously we need to rotate that first, so let's rotate that by 45 degrees. Then click on append new and mirror Y. Now we have this rotated in all the axes. And now I'm able to work on this and have it duplicated to all the other instances. So now I can duplicate that, move this in the back, scale this down, and maybe rotate that by another 30 degrees. Let's make this a little bit more interesting. I'm going to mask this portion and move it back slightly. And another thing we can do, let's do a zero mesh here. I'm going to choose the slice curve. Now I will come from the bottom to cut out a piece like so. Going to grab that, split hidden. Now I'm going to change the thickness on this one. Let's zero mesh that and move that in like so. Let's also give this some subdivision. Zero mesh, subdivision. And since my gizmo is still centered to this mesh, I can use dynamic locus symmetry. I have to hold down Alt and Shift to relocate the gizmo, so locus symmetry is working properly. And now I can just move this piece, as well as this one, until I'm happy with my results. I think I want them to be scaled in slightly. So I'm going to tap this picture box right here, choosing these two parts and just scale them in slightly. So maybe something like this. So now that we have put in the wings, I would say we are going to append the thrusters. So for that, I will choose the IMM primitives brush, switch to the cylinder extended. Let's turn off dynamics for now, hover over this middle point right here, hold down Shift. So sometimes it's not in the right orientation you would like, but that is not a huge deal. I'm going to accept that, Control click to switch the masking, and let's split mask. And now I can just rotate that in the position that I like with holding down Shift. Let's move that inwards and up. I'm going to grab this lower section, give this a new polygroup. And let's move this down with Control Alt. So something like this. Just going to center my gizmo to the center of this mesh. And now I click the home button. So I know that it's perfectly sitting in the center of this rocket. Control W to give everything a fresh polygroup. Switching to my Z modeler brush, turn on symmetry and paint this in with a polygroup. Let me put this down at the bottom of my list as well as the rocket. Create a new folder, let's call this rocket Booleans. And now I will do a duplication of this mesh, Control Shift D, move this one up. And with this one, I'm simply going to choose the Q mesh and choose polygroups all and Q mesh that through. Pick this upper mesh that we duplicated before. Scale it slightly up, turn on live booleans and also subtraction on this model. So now these pieces are perfectly sitting within each other. So let's move that slightly back. And also make this a bit deeper. Let's make this rocket more interesting by creating some booleans. and cut away some pieces from the bottom. So for that I'm going to use the Mesh Extrude Proportional Depth brush and switch this to the curve and also go into the brush and mask mesh modifier. Hold down Control so we can adjust the settings. I just want to have a little bit more resolution and turn off bevel. And now I can start building my shape with this curve. Just one thing you have to keep in mind, always start your curve on top of your mesh. Otherwise you're not going to create a plane like that. So for example, if I start right here, it will only mask the mesh. So make sure to start this curve on top of your mesh. And now we can simply go in and paint in our shape. And make sure that you close it at the end to create a complete shape like so. Let's invert the mask and split this portion. Put it underneath our main rocket. I'm going to mask this one side and push this through. And let's do a polish by feature to clean this curvature up. And turn on subtraction. And now this is the result we're getting. I'm going to switch to this thruster piece here and move this further back. Maybe just move it in slightly. If we want to further adjust our curvature, we can, for example, use our Move Infinite Depth brush and switch to AQ Curve and then just push this point upwards and go back to our normal fall off and then just push this back. And that way we can like create these different curvatures super fast. Let's have a look at the tip and turn on symmetry and also Y symmetry. Turn off local. And I'm going to switch again to my IMM primitive brush and choose the insert sphere. And let's drag this up right here. Push this in slightly. Recenter my gizmo. Control click to invert my masking and split. Let's put this one down. Also turn on subtraction. Now I'm simply going to stretch the sphere out. To create complex panel cuts, I'm also a fan of using the mesh extrusion functionality. So back to the main body. I can now draw out my panel cut like so. Let's say I want to start from here and move my way to the tip and then maybe like that. Just make sure to once again close your shapes. Split mask and put it on the bottom of the list. Now just going to mask this one side, move this all the way through my main body. Now I'm simply going to delete the sides, go into polish by feature open circle to make this really nice and smooth. And now I only have to activate dynamic symmetry. And make sure to delete the geometry where it's not needed. You can also do that from the top, but maybe this time I'm going to switch to the rectangle without square. Now I can come in here and frame this part of the mesh. Again, split this off, turn on subtraction, put this down, delete these portions of the mesh, polish by feature and turning on dynamic thickness. Now we can scale this to our liking. Okay, let's have a look at the different subtools and see if this mesh is ready for applying to the Boolean. So this one looks alright. Let's turn on subdivision on these. Would also turn on dynamic on this surface. Let's turn on groups by normals and increase polygroups and turn on dynamic. And this looks fine as well. Also, let's make sure that this rocket has one solid polygroup. So now I can hit the gear icon and click Boolean with subdivision. Now this is the result we get out of that. So we can now jump right into BevelPro. Let's reset everything and turn on auto apply. And let's stick with bevel for now. Maybe choose somewhat of a smaller amount. Let's do 0.05. Let's hit OK. And now since BevelPro gave us a new polygroup along this beveled edge, we can use BevelPro right again to make nice chamfered edges along these beveled edges. So let's restart BevelPro. Let's hit reset. Change the bevel amount to 0.025. as well as switch to chamfer and auto apply. And let's have a look at the outcome. So here it looks really clean, but in this area we are having some troubles. So what I would try here is turning on low poly mode, because this is processing the chamfer a little bit different. And that oftentimes resolves these issues. Nice, it worked. That's it, okay. Great, I think now we can move over to the last part, where we are going to put in some bolts for our last detail pass. So to automate the bolts, I'm going to make use of masking and frame mesh to populate the bolts along a curve. So to do that, let's first turn on lines again. I'm going to duplicate this piece, then grab this poly group, turn on auto groups, and I'm simply going to grab this complete piece here and give this a good dynamesh. Just going to crank this a little bit up and then make also sure that poly paint is turned off, because if it's turned on, we are going to lose our poly groups, which we don't want. So I'm simply going to select this, give this a single poly group, and now let's dynamesh. Alright, now I can get my gizmo, control click on the surface, invert the mask, and with multiple clicking on this mask portion I can blur the mask, and with control alt clicking I can then sharpen this mask. So I'm getting this really clean border. Let's do this some more times. And now that we are happy with that, I'm going to Control W to give this a new poly group. Now I can simply select this and this poly group and delete the rest, and give this a good polish by feature, because all I want now is to have a clean line along this area, so that I can now use frame mesh with poly groups turned on. So I actually don't want the curve in the back. So I'm going to delete this for now. Let's do an auto groups here. Choose these two meshes, give this one single polygroup, and repeat our step. So now I have this curvature only alongside here. I see that the curvature is not really nice along these edges, so I'm going to use polish by feature a few more times. Now I'm going to switch to my IMM primitives brush, select the sphere. Let's go to stroke and append that to the side. Select curve mode and put in our spheres. So I would like them to be more inset and have some more spacing in between those as well. So for that reason, I'm going to push this down. So we have 0 at embed, and also turn the curvature, the curve step to 2. Let's try a curve step of 5 maybe. Okay, I think that works quite nice. Sometimes you have to click on this other curve as well. Then click on the surface to apply. And now we can grab this and delete. So yeah, this is how you can model a really cool rocket inside of ZBrush. So if you want more insights of my workflows or want to get a better understanding of ZBrush, look at my free beginner hard surface course, which I designed to be easy to follow as a beginner. You can find the link in the description. Until then guys, take care.